Hi guys, and here's the completed Hookah dive unit. Today I just finished off a few little bits and pieces. I put a flag in on the tank down here. All I did was I got a piece of the piping and I cut it. As you can see there, it doesn't go all the way around. I just riveted it to it, then I clipped it on and glued it and put a bit of urethane on and a wee dab of urethane up there, nice and solid. There's my flag. It swivels around with the air, and here's the parts here. The brass fittings are really good because they swivel and they don't leak, which is really good. All the urethane's dried, it's really strong and ready to go. So I'll show it the inside. If you want to get into the inside, you just lift it up here. I will put a switch in it, but I just haven't got around to that yet. I just want to test it. So here she is. Got on, nice and quiet, with all that rubber that we put underneath the battery and that sort of foamy insulation underneath under the board that the little aeration or compressor pump's mounted on. It's made it really, really quiet. And here we go. So yeah, it's still a wee bit fumey. I can still smell a wee bit of the glue smell. I've just turned this off. It's still a wee bit, as I say, wee bit fumey from all the glue on the inside of the pipes. It's about exactly 24 hours since we were gluing these up. Yesterday it was about 3 o'clock, today it's 4 o'clock. So I'm hoping by tomorrow most of that sort of smell will have gone, but she's all ready to go. So next video basically is testing it. So I'll take it out to the river tomorrow and see if we can find some bits and pieces in the river. The other thing I did was I just gave that a wee bit of spray can of black paint, just gave it a wee paint up just to make it look all nice and tidy, and a wee bit of wire just goes into a bit of a coil which stuffs down and then comes up and holds the flag, so it just can freely move around. Plus I can take it out if I want to. But yeah, that's the whole build, all ready to go. So pretty excited about it. I'd say the whole build, bar the battery, because the battery is quite an expensive battery. That lithium ion phosphate battery was quite dear. That was about $260. But the piping was about $50. The glue was about $12. This case was $25. The filtration unit, the wee aeration unit, on eBay I had a funny feeling it was around about $130 or something like that. This is quite a expensive hose. It's not that real cheap stuff. It's I think it's like a food grade, or it's okay for people to use the air-fed masks in spraying cars, that type of thing. So it's of a high grade. And the mouthpiece, as I say, I think $20, $23, something like that. Yeah, so really, not a lot else to really show you apart from it going. So we'll load up the video of how I built it, and this will all go into one video, and the next one will be testing. Thanks for that. Catch you later. Hi guys, how are we doing? Today we're just doing the Hookah dive unit, and this is the container that's going to house the Hookah dive unit. And what I'm going to do is I've got some PVC pipe here, and I'm going to make the flotation that floats the container also the air tank. So what I've done is I've got all these bits of pipe. Now I've cut it so that it fits around the perimeter, around about midway. So by the time I join all these pipes up, it'll sit around about there, and I'll also put some car urethane
in different places to hold it in position so that it can dry and be nice and solid. Now, the pipes, as they go round, are going to have one entry point for the oxygen coming from the compressor into the tank itself. So that's what I'm doing here with this one. And that will go like that, and that'll go like that. And also one for the exit, which goes into the mouthpiece. Now, all I did was I drilled the holes, got the brass fittings, I tapped them in, and if you look on the inside there, I've also sealed around there with some urethane. When it dries, it will be perfectly safe. It's what holds windscreens in. Don't want to be mucking around with it while it's still wet, because I think it does give off some pretty nasty sort of gases and vapours, but after that, that'll be fine. So when you see us in the next video, what we'll be doing is this will all be glued together and it'll be sitting on the actual housing itself. This housing is just one of those cheap storage bins. You know, it's a reasonably strong one. It's got little wheels so I can move my gear around. So that's going to sit like that. So I'll get all this glued up and get it sitting in position, and then I'll explain the little compressor that I've got and the battery system. So here we are, we've glued one piece in, and I'll just show you how I get it to the right height. Is once that one piece is on and you've got it there, because you want this to be nice and snug fit, see it's got a slight taper on it. So what we want to do is we get the next piece of pipe, and I've just marked it with a bit of tape there about where I want it to go, so you don't have them too tight, because if it was too tight you wouldn't be able to get your container in. So you've got to get it about right, and the way to do that is to mark how far you're going to push the piece of pipe on once you've got the glue on. And gluing it's quite simple with PVC pipe. All you do is you give it a good old wallop of this goo around here like this. Let's grab that rag. A little bit messy, just a little bit, so I'll put that there. I'm also going to put a little bit on the inside of this just to make sure we've got a really good seal, because even though the compressor is one of those air filtration ones, you know, for aquaponics, it doesn't run on a very high pressure, but it runs on a reasonable volume. So we just want to make sure we get a really good seal and do the best we can when we're building it, because I mean, these pipes aren't cheap. It's about 40 bucks worth of fittings here. And we just move it up to the tape there like that, and then I just push it onto the flat surface to make sure it's nice and square, and I'll just pull that bit of tape off and go just that last couple of millimetres. Then what we'll do is we'll just have a wee check and go just a tiny wee bit more. That looks about perfect. And then just pushing it down on the flat surface, so that's like that. And the same process as when we do the ones for the side as well. My aeration unit, the pipe's going to come through somewhere quite high up here and then just down, so I want this sticking straight up. So we're going to, next one we'll do is to do this one here. The other thing to remember is when you've cut these bits of pipe, you get a wee bit of sandpaper and just take off the burr, so that the pipes will slide in nice and easy, also on the inside, because you don't want any of that yucky dust and other bits and pieces. If you don't have compressed air, give it a blow, wipe out with a rag. But I'm just making sure I haven't got any dust in there. And I'll fit this next piece in, and just move that. So by the look of that, we're going to be pushing in about 3/4 of the way. So I'm just going to put a wee bit of tape on it. give myself a bit of a guide. Now if I just come out a wee bit, it'll mean it would finish about there. So if you look at that, if you come and look straight on there, we know we're going to need to push it in each side to about there. So I'm just going to put a wee bit of tape on there. See that? About that far in each side. We actually have one side going in massively long way and the other side hardly going in at all. So you want to try and keep it nice and even. So just get some glue. Don't be scared to smack this stuff on. This is what's going to seal it. This glue's a pressure glue as well as non-pressure. I don't know, it says pressure and non-pressure, so it's obviously the best I can get. Okay. Okay, so that's sitting there, sitting nice and straight and up. Pull off our tape. Done deal. So we'll just keep on working away doing that process, and then we'll let it sit for a little while and just give it the final tweak. And the way I'll do that is I'll turn this upside down and then just sit it on so that it's sitting in the right place. So we'll catch up then. Cheers. So here we go. If you have a look at this, you can see I've just altered it as I've gone along. Because if I lift it up from this side here, see how it's just starting to grab when it gets to about midships is where I wanted it to be. And remembering, when you've done your pieces, push it down flat, get all your tubes and pipes, running even and flat and square. Otherwise, they'll be all twisted. So, just do the next one here. Lots of goo. Trying to keep it clean as I go. Once again, this one here, I'm just going to do the same thing. Okay, it's going to go in about that much there, so I'm just going to put a wee bit of tape to mark it. Slop, slop, slop. This one here is going to be the one that the respirator connects to. So I'm going to point this one on an angle downwards, about a 45 degrees. Like that. Now the next one. Just going to give it a wee blow out. Sure everything's nice and clean. about there. Right, this one's going to be a wee bit tricky because I have to try and get 2 bits on at once, which I haven't done before, so it could be tears, I don't know. But so they're going to have to try and stretch them out a wee bit and jiggle them and, I don't know, make it work. Go. Do this bit first. Right, that there for a second. I'm just going to put something underneath this, get it up a bit for a sec. Alright. Okay. So I'll just put that bit there on, get that started. Move that over and then pull that in. Bring that in. I don't know how long this glue takes to set, but I'm presuming I've got a bit of time. Oh. Quite enough. It's quite messy. It's quite messy. Right. What we want to do is make sure that's even. See how it's contacting all sides? And the way I'm going to check that is I'm actually going to turn it over. Without rolling it over with glue, I drill it everywhere. Now, that looks pretty good. If you look from the top, you can see that it's touching. All these points are touching. And that's where we're going to put some glue, some urethane in between these bits here to attach it to the body, because the urethane will adhere really quite well to this plastic. Okay, so that's looking really good. That's looking bloody awesome actually. Okay, clean up the glue. And then I'm going to turn that over. Because what I want to do now, just make sure it hasn't got a twist in it. So just going to push down all those flat areas there like that. And here we have the flotation part as well as the reservoir for the air. Because what happens is, I'll show you my wee filter, just like there. I shouldn't say filter. It's not a filter. It's it's an aeration pump. So what's going to happen? Essentially, obviously the container will sit. This will sit in the container. This will connect through the outside of the casing, go onto this, and that's what's going to put air in. And then out here, there'll be another pipe to the regulator, and obviously the battery will sit here. So it's a pretty simple little setup. And once this all dries, I'll plumb it up and we'll be able to give it a test. Because essentially what happens is I tried this just with the aeration pump connected to my breathing Hookah dive breather, and when you breathe in, the motor starts to work and it starts to pump because there's no reservoir of air. You need this to be at, I'm not sure, it's quite a low pressure. I think it's around about maybe 10 pounds or something along those lines inside the tank. So when you take a breath, it's got, the motor will just constantly keep topping up this reservoir, and you'll find it much easier to breathe, because when I tried to do it, it would work, but I was sucking in, and as I was trying to breathe in, I could feel that the pump was trying to catch up. So that's why I've gone to this. So we'll wait till this glue all sort of dries, and we'll plumb it all up and we'll give it a test. Cheers. Okay, so here we are. Just got the reservoir, tank, float lined up here. Now, it's a very scientific method that we use to get this balanced and square. It's called the itrometer. And what you do is you just eyeball it. So essentially speaking, I'm just looking at it. It looks pretty blooming close to me. It doesn't have to be perfect, but so basically it's got the tape here. So if that side had to go up a bit, I'd just peel the tape off, lift it up a wee bit, tighten the tape, put the tape back down. And I think that it looks pretty good. So what we're going to do now is get some urethane, and we're just going to do those contact points where it contacts onto the container there. Go up the top there, Iceman, and you'll see what I'm doing. If I just do each point of contact, it's going to be surprisingly strong. Okay, just come around here. And there you have it, pretty much. I think won't be able to do too much more with it today, because I'm presuming all the stuff's going to take at least 24 hours to dry or harden. So I think we'll leave it at that, and catch up with it tomorrow. Cheers. So while we're waiting for that to dry, I thought we might as well do the lid for the container. So what we need to do is get air in there, but with no water if there's any splashes or anything like that, because, you know, obviously we've got batteries in there and pumps and things like that, will be compressor and stuff, so we don't really want water in there. So I just got some old fittings from the local DIY store and This one was only 29 cents, so I've just routed it out. So basically, and brought an end cap. So what's going to happen is that's going to make a hole in there. Going to sit that there like that, and that's going to sit on top. So any water splashes on, it'll just splash here and drip down and not go into the actual unit. So I just carved out a few big pieces like that. So if you look down in there, you can see there's plenty of places where air can get in really easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mill out a wee bit of plastic here. Then we're just going to urethane that on there. A couple of dabs of urethane in each corner and put the top on it, and that'll be the air intake into the box. All done. So we'll give that a bit of a go. See if we can just get through this plastic. Easy peasy. Just trying to get rid of all of those sort of rough little burrs. Once again, just do not want to have any bits of plastic in our airway. Sometimes I find it's just as easy to give it a wee scrape with a knife when you're trying to get plastic burrs off. And just when I'm putting urethane on, I like to sort of just give the surface a bit of a scrape to get down to some nice clean plastic. Like that. And also, get rid of some dust. Certainly don't want to be breathing that. Okay, so some urethane on here. I'm not shaking, it's just straining because it's really hard to push out. Right, like that. Now that should form quite a nice strong seal. And pop that down there like that. And if you want to, you can just smear around the inside with your finger, because the more surface area you get when you're doing jobs like this, the better it will stick. What I mean by that is spreading the glue around on the inside of the thing will actually help it to glue. And the truth also is it will help on the outside as well. Yeasty stuff. Okay, so what we're going to do now is a couple of dabs on the top parts here to hold our little cap in place. Like that. And then basically I just want to try and centre it so get nice airflow around all of it. We push down, and that, she cried, was the intake sorted out as well. That's what it looks like from the underneath side. Nice little hole in there. So I think that should be pretty good, I reckon. Yeah, waves come up, slosh there, they'll hit that, they'll just drain down, but the air won't be able to pass up underneath because there's quite a gap between the outer sort of circumference of the little shield at the top. It won't get sucked in. It's not, you know, sucking massive amounts of air. It's got a reasonable volume, but it doesn't have like a really high suction like a majorly big compressor or something along those lines. So yeah, that should do the job. And just going to push that in nice and neatly around the back tip, like that. And that's that part done. Next thing we'll do is we'll mount the wee compressor onto the board. I'll just bring that over, show you what we're going to do here. So what I did here was I just got a bit of scrap ply, and this is just, I don't know, that foamy kind of stuff that when you buy stuff on eBay it generally comes all wrapped in this. This is what the wee aeration unit had on it. So what I'm going to do, just notice that's come off just. A couple of dabs of urethane in there, that'll fix that. Right, I just stapled it, but it doesn't really matter. Is mount this to the board. The reason I've got the foam on the bottom is to raise it up, just in case any water did for some reason leak in. I just want to get it up above the ground a wee bit, but also I want to have this foam here so that when the compressor's running, it's a little bit of insulation, because if it was just hard on the bottom, it would vibrate, it could eventually wear through the plastic or that type of thing, but it would also be quite loud underwater. So with this bit of insulation on there, it acts like a little bit of a noise buffer. And what we're going to do here is just mount it on a wee bit of an angle so that the corners of the container, if you look at it in the container, there's a little bit of an indent like that. So I want to just poke it out so the compressor's on an angle like that. It'll come out about here and then connect into our tank. So I'm going to drill those holes, put some screws in there, and leaves enough room for the battery to sit there, which is right here. I made up a lithium phosphate battery for this out of cells, because I wanted it to be really lightweight and yet have unbelievably a lot of power. So have we look inside here and I'll show you. Just made up this little box, but you can see the 4 cells in there, and those 4 cells totaled up make about 13.3 volts, and they'll run down to about 12. Put in a little meter here as well. It tells me the battery's 100% charged. It's got 13.3 volts, so that's all lovely. Now I'll just show you what the compressor sounds like when you turn it on. At this stage I haven't got a switch in it, I've just so, certainly hoping that I can get down to, I'd like to sort of do a little bit of sniping for gold, you know, going getting the odd sort of crayfish and things like that. And I'd really like to be down around that sort of 3 metre mark. So I don't want to go much deeper than that. I'm not a big time diver, it's just a fun thing to have. And yeah, just go exploring in rivers and, you know, maybe find a few things that are dropped out of people's pockets and things like that, and maybe do a few videos on some of the interesting things we find once we get it built. So be sure to watch out for some of those videos. So yeah, the wee battery box, obviously just made it up out of scrap ply that I got. Just put an old window latch on it but it's also got some of that foam in it there to try and waterproof it. These wires coming through won't help, but I will eventually drill little holes here and put some nice little bolts through and connect the terminals that way, so you connect to the outside and have a switch on the outside of the container. But just to get it up and running and just to get it tested to make sure everything's working, I've just flicked it over the side. So yeah, so that's where we're at with that. So I will mount all that up, and hopefully tomorrow that tank will all be cured and hardened, and we'll be able to give it a bit of a test out. Yeah, cheers. Okay, so what we're going to do now is mount the engine, or the wee compressor. So obviously I've drilled these holes, so I've just put the bolts through from the bottom there and screw them up. Now what I want to do is I want to do as much insulation as I possibly can, and what I mean by that is I want to sort of rubber mount it. So when the unit's in place, that square there, I just cut this little bit of foam here. I'm going to put that there and put some urethane in it. So what it'll do is it'll form like a little rubberized engine mount to support the back part of it, because it only has 2 mountings. So I'm just going to put a wee bit of urethane down here, like this. And I've just got these tap washers. I'm just going to smear that round there like that. They'll form quite a nice little rubberized mount. Now if you ever have to take this unit off to, you know, to service it or do whatever, all you've got to do is basically get a piece of wire, put it through like that, and then just get the bit of wire and just pull it through like that, and it'll cut through the urethane. Okay. So it's not like it's, you know, can never be removed. Can. Just sit this here and there. Now I did have some spring washers here, but I don't know. Oh yeah, I will have enough just for the springs. Put those on like that. Maybe not. Maybe just see how this goes on. I'll put a dab of urethane on the top of them, and that'll certainly, I don't know that it's going to get enough thread. Yeah, that one might. That washer was possibly a little bit thinner. Just push that down. Don't want to over tighten them, just till they're just kind of firm. Feels quite good. Now I'm just going to put a little dab on the top. just so they don't vibrate loose. There's enough rubber mount there and urethane to take away most of the shock. That can always be cleaned away with like a pocket knife or something like that if you have to, once again, service the engine or do something along those lines. Now the other thing too is when you get this engine, or this little compressor, there's a rubber bung in there. You got to take that rubber bung out because that's where the air goes in. So don't forget to do that. I think it's just for when they ship it or when you've got it in storage, you can put the wee bung in to stop like little ants or insects or something like that sort of crawling in there. And once again, that's another reason why I've elevated it to have it a wee bit higher from the bottom of my container, just in case there was a little bit of water. I don't want it going into the unit because obviously that won't be very good for it. So essentially speaking, that feels really nice and rigid. We can give that a wee test now. There's no horrible vibrations and stuff because this foam stuff's taking it out. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's all good there. So I'll just give you a close up on the side of the motor if you do want to buy one of these things. I got it on eBay. I think it was like $100. There it is there. 120 watt, 160 litres per minute. By your. I've seen other people use them in their sort of design Hookah units, lots of different types and designs. I've sort of just obviously watched a few of the videos and things like that, and I've sort of taken what I think is the best from all of them and created my own little version of it, so to speak. So yeah, look, once we get everything plumbed in, very little to do now, really just put this pipe through, hook that one to our tank outside, and then the other one we'll just connect the other rear line with the Hookah mouthpiece in it, which I've got. I'll show you that. Once again, this was just one of those ones on eBay. One of those ones there, you can see that. Focus up on that one there, Iceman. It says there, whatever that says. Hung Shen, I'm not sure. Quang Shi. Yeah, but these were only about, I don't know, I think $15, $20, something like that. So not a hugely expensive thing, and obviously I've just joined it with a stainless steel hose clip. I think if you can get all your fittings to be stainless steel or brass, then you're not going to get corrosion and all the other associated problems with that. So yeah, that one will go to the tank, and this one will adjoin where we left that one on a 45-degree angle. That'll just plug into that. And this, believe it or not, is supposed to stretch out to 10 metres, so I'll get the help of my Iceman here and see how deep I could possibly go down. So yeah. Hello! That's far enough. I'm too scared if I go too deep. So I'll just count them back in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'd say probably 8 metres. For me, I don't think I'll be going much more than sort of 3 or 4 metres, really, to be honest. Just sort of doing the little bits and bobs I want to do, but we'll definitely give it a test and see how it goes. And if for any reason that the wee compressor does stop, you will hear it on the water above you. With that tank, I reckon I'll have quite a few breaths of air to come back up with, and obviously at that depth it's not going to require very much, so you know, you should be fine. So yeah, golden rule, when you're using any of these things, just exhale as you're coming out. I mean, breathe out as you're coming up. Bubble, bubble, bubble to the top. That's the hope. Cheers, guys. Hi, if you thought the video was great, can you please like it and subscribe? That'd be very much appreciated. And thanks for your support. Cheers.